The Champions League round of 16 second legs begin tonight, guys. So, as we did for the first leg, we're going to go over some my predictions for this round of 16 second leg. Who is going to be going through? And we're going to be starting off with the first game of the day. Sporting Lisbon up against Bodo Glimt. Now, obviously, we know in the first leg, Bodo Glimt absolutely destroyed Sporting Lisbon 3-0. So the Cinderella story keeps continuing for Bodo Glimt. It looks like they could really go quite far in this tournament, to be fair. And if they do, then it'd be absolutely amazing. But if they did get through the next round, but obviously, there you'd hope that well, unless you're a Sporting Lisbon fan, then you'd hope that Sporting wouldn't be able to come back. But then in the next round, Bodo would be playing the winner of Arsenal Bayer Leverkusen, so it would be pretty tough that if they were able to get through. But yeah, for the neutral in this sort of thing, obviously when I don't have any like allegiance to Sporting or Bodo, it's just nice to see that they can make a good run in the competition, Bodo Glimt, and long may it continue. But as for my prediction for this game, I think Bodo will do it again. I think that Sporting will take an early lead, which will probably set off a little bit of nerves. But I think Bodo will score 2 goals in reply. They'll win the game 2-1 on the night, but it will be 5-1 on aggregate, sending them through to the quarterfinals. In the next game, we're going to be talking about Arsenal Bayer Leverkusen. Now, of course, like I mentioned in the Bodo one, whoever wins this game will be taking on either their Bodo Glimt or Sporting Lisbon in the quarterfinals. And yeah, Arsenal did seem like they struggled a bit in that first leg up against Leverkusen. Of course, Leverkusen actually took the lead, which of course wasn't well. It was a bit of a surprise, to be brutally honest, because I mean, to be fair, the English teams in general really did struggle in I mean, not just in the Champions League, but in Europe as a whole. The only English team that won in Europe last week was Aston Villa in the Europa League. So yeah, that was an interesting one. But yeah, Arsenal with a draw here, they're at home. You would think they'll be able to get over the line here, and I believe they will. I think they'll win this game 3-0, and of course advancing 4-1 on aggregate, heading into the quarterfinals, which in my opinion they'll be taking on Bodo Glimt. I mean, surely they'll get through, right? However, I don't think the same can be said for Chelsea, as yeah, they're up against PSG at home, and they're currently 5-2 down from the first leg. For most parts of that first leg, Chelsea did look like they were able to compete with PSG. They caused them a lot of problems at times. Enzo Fernandez, of course, scoring. Palmer looked a bit more like how he's been at his best. But of course, Reece James is out injured for this one, so of course he's going to be a massive loss for Chelsea at right back. But to be fair, Gusto in the first leg, he did a good job, especially in that first half. I mean, he scored for God's sake. So yeah, I mean that was good for Gusto. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea are going to be up against it. The 5-2 down, even when they're at Stamford Bridge, I just don't feel like they're going to be able to really be able to come back. I mean, I know PSG have a history of bottling leads in the Champions League, but this is a completely different PSG team. Luis Enrique will not allow them to drop any sort of concentration whatsoever. And yeah, the players that they have, Kvaratskhelia, Vitinha, Dembele, Doué, yeah, they're not gonna make the same mistake as PSG teams have in the past. So I believe PSG will win this 2-1, and then they'll win 7-3 on aggregate heading into the quarterfinals. And another team facing an upward battle, Man City, as they take on Real Madrid in obviously the millionth time we've seen this fixture. Yeah, from the first leg, Man City are 3-0 down after a Federico Valverde hat-trick in the first leg. I mean, it was absolutely crazy that he got a hat-trick. No, never mind the fact that Man City are 3-0 down from the first leg. I mean, Pep Guardiola clearly thinks that they can make a comeback, but I'm not so sure with the way Man City played in that first leg. I mean, there were times where they had chances, but they just looked very shaky defensively. And if you're going to allow the likes of Real Madrid to be able to capitalise on you defensively, even when they've had a poor season as well, Real Madrid, I mean, in La Liga, they're 4 points behind Barca, don't you know? And yeah, they haven't really looked convincing, I've got to be honest. Like, for a large part of the season, even when they've had Xabi Alonso, and now obviously Arbeloa, they haven't really looked very convincing. I mean, It wasn't that long ago they lost to Getafe, so you know, losing to Getafe at home is bad enough. So you know what I mean? It's and then the now they just about beat Celta Vigo as well in La Liga recently. Although their most recent game they did destroy Elche 4-1, but yeah. Compared to the start of the season, Elche fell off a cliff a bit. And Man City, I feel like they're starting to struggle a bit in form. I mean, obviously they took that loss in the first leg, but then at the weekend in the Premier League, they drew 1-1 with West Ham, which was very, very disappointing in that sense. And yeah, are they going to be able to make a comeback? There's rumours that Mbappe will be back for Real Madrid for this second leg, so it will be a bit more difficult in that sense. But unfortunately, as the Barca fan talking here, I don't see Man City being able to come back. Unfortunately, Real Madrid, when they're in these kinds of positions in the Champions League, they don't give it away. So yeah, I think Real Madrid will get through to the quarterfinals. They'll win this game. I think Man City will make it tight. I think they'll get 2 goals, but Real Madrid will get 2 of their own. So yeah, it will be 2-2 draw on the night, but Real Madrid will win the game 5-2 on aggregate and make themselves into the quarterfinals, as they always seem to do. And now the main event for me, anyway. Barca against Newcastle, obviously in the second leg. The first leg ended 1-1 at St James's Park. To be honest, I was very disappointed with the first leg result. Well, but not the result, but the performance from us, because we were really, really poor. Like, it was one of the very few times under Hansi Flick where I can say our attack did absolutely nothing going forward. Like, it was really poor, and defensively we looked very, very shaky. Newcastle had quite a lot of chances, and if it weren't for Joan Garcia, I feel like we would have definitely conceded more than 1 goal. But yeah, of course, Newcastle, to be fair to them, a lot of people saying that was their best performance of the season, and to be honest, it probably is. I mean, they've had a bit of a rough campaign in the Premier League, but I mean, they did just most recently get a win against Chelsea in the Premier League, so it's not too bad for them. But yeah, I feel like despite the good performance they put in the first leg, I think the second leg is definitely going to be a lot tougher for them because they've never really experienced this. I mean, yeah, they've been away to PSG, but going away to the Camp Nou, it's a completely different kettle of fish. Yeah, Newcastle have never really experienced being at like the top echelon of like this part of the competition. And I feel like we will give our absolute all. You'll see a completely different team to what came out in the first leg. I mean, even in our most recent game against Sevilla in La Liga, we won that 5-2. And Rafinha getting himself a hat-trick. And, of course, that will do his confidence the world of good, considering that this season he hasn't... It's been a bit of a stop-and-start season for Rafinha, because he's been out with a few injuries now and then. And of course, maybe his confidence might have taken a little bit of a dip compared to obviously the levels he was showing last season. But yeah, Rafinha should be in a confident mood. Although, of course, we do still have those injury problems, the likes of De Jong being out injured still, and Balde and Koundé as well. But Cancelo, he's been in very good form recently. I mean, he scored in that game against Sevilla at the weekend. So if he can show any sign of that again going forward, that would be nice to see. Of course, like I mentioned in the first leg, Newcastle do have injuries of their own. Bruno Guimaraes is missing this one, so of course he's a massive loss for them. But I feel like we still do need to do a better job of keeping their wingers quiet. Harvey Barnes, of course, the man who scored for them right at near the end of the game. If it weren't for that Yamal penalty, Newcastle would have won the game. And to be honest, they probably did deserve more than a draw because they were by far the better team in that first leg. And Harvey Barnes was a very big part of that. So yeah, we need to try and keep him a bit more quiet. Same with Elanga, because on the wings, Newcastle, and especially in that first leg, they were really, really torturing us on those wings. The amount of chances the wingers were making, it was absolutely crazy. I honestly think if they had like a proper number 9, I know they started that Oswalder in the first leg, and he missed quite a few chances. If that game had happened last season when Isak was at Newcastle, I feel like we would have conceded a hell of a lot of goals. Because if Isak's in that Newcastle team, it would have been Kearns, I feel like. But thankfully, he's not there anymore. And yeah, clearly Eddie Howe doesn't really trust that much in Johan Wizzer and Nick Waldemar. So yeah, either way, I feel like we should be getting through here. I mean, the Camp Nou, the atmosphere is definitely improving now that our main ultras are back, which of course is what you love to see. But yeah, I feel like we will win this game. I think we'll win it. I'm going to go 3-1, and on aggregate, that'll be a 4-2 win. And yeah, we will see ourselves into the quarterfinals, where we will take on, I believe, it's either... Oh, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's either going to be Atletico Madrid or Tottenham, but let's be real. We'll get into that game in a while, but yeah, I think we all kind of know who that will be if we get through. But yeah, I feel like we'll get through here against Newcastle and get ourselves into the quarterfinals. And yeah, now one of the easiest games to predict, Bayern Munich against Atalanta. Now, Bayern Munich absolutely destroyed Atalanta in that first leg. 6-1 win away from home for Bayern Munich. Michael Olise just looks like an absolute baller. Like, he really does. I mean, I don't watch the Bundesliga, really, but whenever I do see Olise, he just dominates for them. But apparently, according to FotMob here, Olise is going to be suspended for this second leg. But to be honest, even with him suspended, same with Kimmich, I feel like Bayern Munich will still have far too much to get for Atalanta to cope with, and yeah, they're not going to make a comeback at Atalanta. Even though, obviously, Bayern Munich did draw with Leverkusen in the Bundesliga in the most recent game. But yeah, Atalanta, yeah, it's not looking good for them, is it? Yeah, I think Bayern Munich will get through this again pretty comfortably. We'll just get this out of the way as it is. Bayern Munich will win the game 3-0, and on aggregate that'll be a 9-1 win, which, yeah, absolutely crazy. Pure domination from Bayern, and they'll find themselves in the quarters as well. On one of the more surprising games, Liverpool against Galatasaray. Now, I was not expecting Liverpool to lose to Galatasaray away. I mean, I know obviously going to like the Turkish teams like in their ground, the atmosphere is absolutely intense, whether it's Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, or whoever it is. Like, the atmospheres in Turkish stadiums are absolutely immense. And yeah, I mean, I know Liverpool lost there in the league phase, but yeah, they just looked a bit toothless. I've got to be honest. I remember watching this game, and I just thought Liverpool were pretty toothless in that first leg. I mean, Galatasaray got themselves a go up, I believe it was from Sara, the guy who used to be at Norwich. So, yeah, quite crazy. Osimhen did have a few chances of his own as well, and if Galatasaray were able to pull this off and get themselves into the quarterfinals, that would be pretty insane. But to be fair, if with this being at Anfield in the second leg, I mean, surely Liverpool don't slip up here. But at the weekend in the Premier League, Liverpool drew with Tottenham, and Tottenham have been an absolute shambles this season. Yet, for some reason, Liverpool made Tottenham look good. Like, that's how bad Liverpool have been in the past two games. I mean, they got beat off Wolves as well, who are bottom of the Premier League and have looked pretty diabolical for the majority of the campaign. So Liverpool are clearly in a bit of a rot at the moment, and yeah, they've got a few injuries as well. Of course, obviously missing Isak still with that broken leg. But to be fair, Galatasaray are going to be missing Davinson Sanchez, who's suspended for this one after, yeah, he got booked in that first leg. But yeah, if Galatasaray can pull off a madness, that would be pretty insane. And you know what? I originally thought Liverpool would get through this game, but after seeing how badly they played against Tottenham, I think Galatasaray are going to do it. Don't get me wrong, I think Liverpool will score first, then it'll be 1-1 aggregate, but I think Liverpool will waste their chances, kind of similar to what they did against Tottenham, continue to waste chance after chance after chance, not kill off the game, and then right at the death, Victor Osimhen in the 90th minute will score a late winner to send Galatasaray through to the quarterfinals. It'll be 1-1 the night on aggregate 2-1 to Galatasaray. An upset is on the cards. That's if I'm correct anyway. And finally, similar to the Bayern Munich game, yeah, there's only one team going through here. As we talked about Tottenham Atletico Madrid, of course, the first leg result ended 5-2 to Atletico. Yeah, I mean, the whole talking point of this game, or that first leg, was Kinski. I mean, he started in goal for Tottenham and had a lot of errors, let's just say that, and it was an absolute horror show for him. But the fact that he got subbed off, like, just basically took... Igor Tudor basically made sure that Kinski got all the blame for it. I mean, he didn't even console Kinski when he subbed him off, he just didn't even look at him. And yeah, that's just poor, really, it really is. they're gonna go on like that. I mean, you trusted him, so why not? You, I'm trying to think of how to word this. He trusted Kinski to start that game. But yeah, fair enough. You might want to sub him off, but do it at halftime. Like, don't embarrass the poor guy like in front of like thousands, if not millions of people. Well, millions when if you include people watching it via the telly. But yeah, to embarrass him publicly like that and then not even a console Kinski, very poor management. It really is, and yeah, Tottenham are just a shambles. I mean, how Tudor is still in a job, it is beyond me. I do have a feeling, though, that if Liverpool had won that game at the weekend against Tottenham, I have a feeling that he might have been sacked after that. But he could still get sacked during the international break that's coming up. So, yeah, we have to wait and see on that. But, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Tottenham somehow got a draw against Liverpool, courtesy of Richarlison scoring right at the death. But he's going to be suspended for this one against Atletico. So, yeah, that's going to be a bit of a problem for Tottenham. But either way, I don't really see Tottenham making a comeback. Let's be real. They're 5-2 down. They've got more important things to be focusing on than the Champions League, Tottenham. They need to try and stay up in the Premier League. So I think what they'll do here, I mean, they probably will try and go for it, Tottenham, but realistically, they'll probably just have a little bit of a... What's the word I'm looking for? They'll probably just lay it off a bit because, yeah, they don't really need to focus on this because it's just a massive distraction, the Champions League, for them at the minute due to how perilous their position in the Premier League is. So I'm going to predict that Atletico Madrid will win the game 2-0, and that'll be a 7-2 win on aggregate, and they'll find themselves in the quarterfinals. And that's where we're going to leave this video for today, guys. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you for the quarterfinal predictions once we find out, obviously, which teams are going to be there.